has a display. So yes, she can become a pastafarian now that Hanukkah is over. But truthfully, all right, we're ready for Terri's speech. When you look in the mirror, do you see yourself as you are now or you a few years ago? We might see the pounds we put over, a little bit more than that, but for me, we put over in the holidays, but we see experience and the lessons learned. Terri is here to give us a reminder as we look ahead to see where we're going and how far we've come. And she's asking for 5 to 7 minutes. Speech titled, Do You See the Awesome in Your Mirror? Terri Wells.
Eye contact. Eye contact. Eye contact. After I delivered my first Toastmasters icebreaker, I found out that my eye contact was so bad. One of my club's members thought that I was blind. From that point on, eye contact became my own personal battle. I asked every evaluator to check out my eye contact to make sure it was good and offer me tips for improving it. One memorable evaluator said to me afterwards, as he was doing his evaluation, that he made more eye contact with me during that 5 to 7 minute speech than he'd made with his wife the entire rest of the day. Oh, they're still together. Don't need to worry about that. I've told that story a bunch of times. Most of you have heard it, but you haven't heard the follow-up to that. About, I don't know, a year and a half after that, I was talking with a member of my Toastmasters club then, asking, as always, how to improve my eye contact. She said, you know, your eye contact's really good. You don't need to work on that to improve it more. You can move on to something else. I was blindsided. How is this possible? I've always had issues with eye contact. I won this battle, but I couldn't see that I had won it. I had as part of my identity the fact that I always made poor eye contact during my speeches. I couldn't accept that I had changed. Fellow Toastmasters, you may have heard about imposter syndrome, where people who are highly competent grossly underestimate their skills. They feel like an imposter who will be found out by their bosses or their professors or even their IRS auditors. Oh, wait, no, sorry, that's a different syndrome. Anyway, as you become an expert at something, the more you learn, the more you find there is to learn. So the less you feel like you know. I know, that's a bad mental twist. And there is more to imposter syndrome than I can unpack in 5 to 7 minutes, even if I was playing a psychologist on TV. Still, I have a theory as to why we can't accept that we're awesome, even when we work so hard to become awesome. I believe it comes down to self-identity. You identify so strongly with what you were before that you can't accept that you're something else now. Sometimes you've changed, but in your head, your self-identity just didn't keep up. This relates to something Dr. Carol Dweck talks about, different mindsets, a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. If you have a fixed mindset, you believe you're born with a certain set of skills that you can't change. I'm bad at math, so I'll always be bad at math. With a growth mindset, though, you can learn things and change what you want to change about yourself. So what does this have to do with your self-identity? I think a person may learn new things and operate from a growth mindset, but they themselves, when they think about themselves in general, think from a fixed mindset. Their self-identity is fixed, even though when they learn, they grow, and they know that they grow. This is how you get a DTM who's convinced that she can't make decent eye contact. So if you want to make a change in your life and have it stick, what do? Start by changing your self-identity. If you want to be a writer, tell yourself that you are a writer. And this is important. The next step for that, do the things that writers do. Write every day. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but sometimes you change your identity and then your behavior follows, not the other way around. This is important to keep in mind because our lives are filled with change. Change jobs, we change partners, we even change our underwear. At least you do change your underwear, right? Good. We get blindsided by so many changes that it's great when we can see how to take control of them, even when they seem beyond our control. Sometimes, though, that blindsiding is a good thing because it can have us rethinking who we are. I've spent almost a year organizing a weaving and sewing workshop for the Weavers of Orlando, which is another group I belong to. The workshop itself is coming up in 2 months. Ooh. Yes, that's scary. Anyway, the instructor is really awesome, but there was a lot of pre-work involved for the dozen of us who are participating. We had to figure out what we're making, get a pattern, try it out to make sure it works, get the weaving of the fabric done. You get the idea. Since we each have different skill sets, I decided it would be a good idea for us to all meet every month so the people who needed help could get it from the people who could give help. This is when I discovered that cats and weavers have a lot more in common than loving fiber. So when you consider that I've never arranged anything like this before, it's been quite interesting. Details, details, details. Oh my. So I was quite surprised when one of the workshop participants complimented me on my organizational skills for getting everything going, especially with herding this group of cats. I mean weavers. I didn't say anything, but my initial reaction to the compliment was, organizational skills? Girl, you haven't seen my house. No, she hadn't. But like a mirror, she was reflecting what she saw back to me. And we can all use a little reflection when we look in the mirror if we want to avoid seeing things that aren't there or being blind to things that actually are. Remember, I couldn't see the growth that she described in my own fixed, unclear mirror. It's still a bit foggy, but maybe soon my self-identity will catch up and it will all come into focus. So what about you? Do you see the awesome in your mirror? Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Terri. And that speech is still change in the agenda, which I should have brought ahead of time. That speech is being evaluated, pathways evaluated by Francine Julian. And by chance, we did miss National Cat Herding Day, which was the 15th. And so to move on for the facilitation, not award, but the facilitation, we have Marjane. Now, Marjane, tomorrow, I want you to, this is a holiday that you need to observe. It is National Wear a Plunger on Your Head Day. So I'm hopefully maybe visiting your office in the next few days, and I want to make sure that you've seen it. But until then, I'm going to take it over to you, Marjane, to lead the facilitation.
All right, thank you. Well, I'm practicing today, getting in the habit of wearing something on my head so I can take the plunger tomorrow. Or take the plunge? I don't know. All right, so our facilitation, I'm going to ask you to do a quick, something you liked, and what if you did this instead? What did you like, and what if? And we'll start with Rajiv, followed by Vanessa, and followed by May if she would like to participate. So let's go ahead with Rajiv.
Wonderful speech, Terri. Yes, I had heard that earlier, and you incorporated quite a few things. one thing I must say, I think you were not totally prepared, so you ended up reading a lot. It was pretty visible. And what that did was reduce the eye contact, unfortunately. And particularly, when you said, you made a joke, do you do this? And you straight away looked down and started to move to the next topic. I would have preferred that you pause and you look at people to say, do you really do this? So, yeah, more eye contact is what I would prefer.
All right, thank you, Rajiv. Now we'll have Vanessa, followed by May, followed by Melanie. Vanessa.
Thank you, Terry. I really enjoyed that, and I did hear it a week ago, at the last meeting in our little breakout room afterwards. And I think a lot of the things that we talked about then, Terry has already addressed really well. So I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the awesome thing. There was only just a couple of spots where maybe the tendency to speak fast crept in, but overall the pace was really good, I thought, and the gestures and everything really good.
All right, thank you, Vanessa. Now May, followed by Melanie, followed by Linda. Okay, May wants to pass, so we'll go to Melanie and then Linda.
Thank you, Terry, for that speech. I really thought there were quite a lot of funny moments. I liked the fact about the IRS auditors. I laughed about that. And I also liked when you moved closer and closer, because that was funny too. For things that I think you could change next time, I think you have a lot of props around you. And I think that you could do something funny with your props to show the eye contact and maybe the imposter syndrome, like, I don't know, Superman or Batman, who are afraid in their normal alter egos or something along those lines. Just some ideas for trying out in the future.
Right, thank you, Melanie. Linda, followed by, gosh.
I can't do it. I'm timing, and I can only do one thing at a time.
Oh, all right. How about Sue and Charlotte?
Well, if people have already talked about the eye contact, yes, you're talking about the eye contact and you move away. And just be careful on that one. And I really wasn't certain the story about the Weavers maybe needed a little bit of segue. I sort of all of a sudden lost where you were going. But other than that, I loved it. I found it very humorous.
Okay, and last, but with some good insight, I hope, let's have comments from Charlotte. And Charlotte, you're muted. Okay.
Okay, there we go. I thought it was a very good speech. I agree with the others that the reading of the notes kind of detracted from it, but I thought it was very good. Otherwise, you've got some good lines in there. One thing that kind of was a little bit uncomfortable for me was when you were talking at the beginning about eye contact and you got super close to the camera. That last one was a little bit too much for me. I like the others, though. Keep those in your speech. That's all I have. Back to you, Marjane.
All right, thank you, Charlotte. And I'm going to jump in here and just say I loved the very close because I thought it was funny as heck. I loved when you got closer and closer, and then I'm expecting you to stop, and you didn't, and you got really, really close. I love that. So I guess it's a matter of humor is in the eye, right there, of the beholder. Great speech, and I'm going to return control back to Sue.